What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Rezolve AI. I want to go over some of the data points, what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Rezolve is down 3.8%, 541 the low, 598 the high, but we're seeing very low volume. So 14.1 million shares being traded, 27.8 is the average. We did have some good data that came out first thing. So Michigan consumer sentiment came in at 55, forecast of 54. So I think Rezolve kind of benefited as well as the broader market through algorithmic trading because of that, but that was rather short-lived because we did have Trump coming out saying that he's thinking about increasing tariffs on China. China's being very hostile to us and other countries on rare earth minerals, and that he's canceled his meeting next week. So market is selling off because of that. I don't think we're going to be in the same boat as, for instance, April, what happened in April when we had our 52-week lows, but I think generally a lot of people are very cautious about this. And even leading into this, though, we did have a lot of money leaving equities as well as crypto to go back into money markets. So there's not that big rotation that was anticipated to occur. That's not really happening just yet. Rezolve, of course, put out news because that's something they do every single day is they put out news. This one right here just says Rezolve AI confirms minimal dilution from foundational acquisitions. So honestly, it's getting to the point where if they have nothing to put out, they're just going to say, hey, we had, salad for lunch. It's going to be crazy stuff. But this does prove, I've been saying that there's dilution occurring, because if you kind of read a lot of that F3, there was dilution. I say this, a lot of people in my comments saying, nope, there was no dilution. This proves it. So again, read the data, read the actual terms of it. Don't always trust what a company is saying, because that's what obviously Rezolve did mention, and they did a post on social media saying that there is no dilution happening. Well, turns out there was. So at the end of the day, not necessarily the best, but I've been very cautious, and I've received a couple comments in the past saying, hey, am I extremely bullish on Rezolve? And the answer is no, only because my radar, for the most part, it's wrong sometimes, but it generally has a good, I have a good intuition for a stock, whether it's going to move higher. And that's actually why I got on Rezolve, because when it was at $1.13, that's when I first started to do a video saying, hey, this is a crazy deal that you should not miss. This is so discounted. And turns out it moved up quite significantly. But now that we had the most recent earnings, people are pricing that in. People keep asking me, hey, are you still extremely bullish on Rezolve? I think in theory, the sector that Rezolve is in should continue to move higher, but there's a lot of red flags that I do not like. I'm not in the same kind of spectrum as that fuzzy bear, so I'm not going to do a short report or anything. I don't have the time for that, but I don't like the fact that they put out news every single day. And there's also one thing that was very odd, is a lot of big accounts on social media are all conveniently pumping the news that came out yesterday. And so as an influencer, you get countless emails all the time saying, hey, I'll pay you to do this, 99% I say no, only because I don't feel right pumping a stock. So for instance, you had this individual who never really spoke about Rezolve prior to this, but just said head of digital asset research at this place right here, whatever, Vanek. And so in reality, very well scripted kind of news about the SQD acquisition. Same with this right here. So Dan to even say love, Mario, kind of saying the exact same thing. And there's a lot of actual big accounts that all did the exact same thing. So I'm not saying that Rezolve, for instance, paid a lot of influencers to do some posts. It does happen, but I just find it very weird that conveniently the news that came out yesterday, all these individuals are kind of talking about that news. It's very weird timing. And again, my kind of radar is kind of going off a little bit because of this. At the same time, I am not a fan of various firms, such as what I even mentioned, For instance, Northland. I've seen a lot of companies kind of pay a lot of firms just to give ratings, and I do believe Northland is one of them. So every time I see one from there, I don't take it for face value. And then we also did have Cantor Fitzgerald that was actually brought up, I believe, in this one right here. So according to Cantor Fitzgerald's October 9th, 2025 report, like, I've never seen a company actually cite a analyst report. It just doesn't make sense. So I just see too many red flags. So this is a long explanation on I am cautiously watching the stock. I'm not as bullish as I once was, because I'm getting a lot of comments about that. Only because, just again, I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Everything is correct. But as soon as the company starts paying influencers and analysts to do ratings, I see that as kind of a red flag. But still, nonetheless, 10% of the free float's being shorted, works to be 15.5 million shares overall being shorted. At the time of doing this video, shorts are returning 790,000 shares. Cost to borrow average 28.03. Short score is 73.94. Higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. Looking at the options, 1.2 million in calls, 301,000 in puts. 47% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be above that 6 for today, and then it looks like above 750 for next week. So I'm not really sure where that optimism is coming from. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be not really much for today, but for next week for it to be sub 5. So again, something to keep in mind. There's only 3 transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. And all of them are sells. So 107,000, 119,000, and then 1.3 million. And then on the dark pool, these are all the transactions. So of course, with shorts being fairly active, it is fair to assume that a lot of this is linked to them. Aside from that though, with it at $5.53, it is smack dab in the middle between this pivot and this S1. So 525 is going to be that strong support. Hasn't been tested today, but just keep that in mind for the next couple of trading days. And then 636 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Aside from all that fun stuff, quickly popping over here. So at the time of doing this video, it is starting to break below that 10-day moving average. Because of all the recent consolidation, you do see that it's kind of getting a little bit oversold. So again, if they do put out some concrete news, not just fluff news, because I feel like they're kind of borderline starting to do that, they need to, I think they just need to stop with the news and just do one update every single week. And it doesn't even have to be like a official PR. Just have, for instance, Dan do a 2-3 minute video, and that's it. I've seen some companies do that. It's kind of out of the box, but I think it's generally accepted better than countless PRs. So that's something I feel like could be done. But if there is good news, then you could see a rush of actual buyers getting in. Looking today at the market position, so you do see a lot of willing sellers and not really that much buyers, especially comparing it to yesterday. So you have a little bit of a wall at that, looks like 530, which conveniently is very close to that fib level, support level that I kind of mentioned. But I think generally, given the circumstances that is occurring in the broader market, we will be seeing more consolidation. Most likely, the stopping point for at least right now will be that 50-day moving average sitting at 470. So let me know your thoughts on Rezolve. Are you buying? Are you selling? What's your kind of general thoughts on Rezolve? I know I might have come off as relatively bearish, but honestly, I do these videos not to pump up the stock nor to bring it down. I don't care if you guys are buying or whatever else. All I'm doing is trying to give you all the details that you need to make a sound decision. And in my opinion, like I said, I personally do not think that all this news, like, there's just a lot of questionable things. Of course, you can argue either way, saying that, you know what, like, they can do all the news that they want and blah, blah, blah. But I just see a lot of this as them trying to get algos on their side to really push the stock higher. So hopefully I'm wrong. Let me know your general thoughts on Rezolve. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.